Stop. All right, and welcome to one of the last sessions of the day. It is Thursday. It has been a long 3 days, but you guys are amazing for sticking with us through this, and I'm looking forward to some more knowledge. I don't know about you guys, but I'm excited to be here. Couple of housekeeping tips. If you haven't heard them, I'm sure you've heard them in all your sessions, but I'm going to cover them anyways. If you have audio or video problems during this session, just refresh your browser real quick. That has fixed 90% of the problems we have seen. If there's something else going on, ping in the chat and I'll do what I can to assist. Recordings will be available after the session, as well as the documents. The slides or the PDF in this case is in the Docs tab on the right-hand side of your screen. During the session, drop any questions you have into the Q&A, and our lovely presenter will address them at the end of his presentation. Anything goes, so ask him how many atoms are in a baseball. We'll do our best to give you an answer for it. But without further ado, I'd like to present Manny Alonso, who's going to tell us all about SKY API OAuth and really digging into the nitty gritty of what that is and how it works. And I'm excited, Manny. Tell me all about it. Go away. Stage yours.
Thanks, Richard. So like Richard said, I'll be talking about SKY API and just kind of deep diving into the OAuth process, some of the problems that we ran into and how we went about them. Maybe they're kind of unique to us, but hopefully it's helpful for someone else. Like Richard said, my name is Manny Alonso. I'm a UI UX developer at the Georgia Tech Foundation. If you have any questions about this or React, my earlier presentation, you can email me at that email. I'm originally from Laredo, Texas. I live in Atlanta now, but I like hiking and I play some instruments. So this is the agenda that I'm going to go through. So just a little bit about what SKY API is, why OAuth, the whole, the flow, logging in, getting a refresh token, getting an access token, making calls to SKY API, our unique problem and the possible solution that we came up with. Then I'll just kind of go over how we set all that up, how we integrated OAuth with CRM, how we store and encrypt credentials, how we secure the token exchange via BBIS through a React app using Power Automate, and then finally calling SKY API authenticated from CRM without logging in, and that's kind of the key issue, without logging in. And then some challenges in solutions, and then hopefully some Q&A. So hopefully you know what SKY API is. I'm sure many of you have used it, or at least are starting to. So you know that it's a RESTful API platform built by Blackbaud. I heard that we have some of the developers attending today. So hopefully this makes you guys happy that it's useful. It's been a great tool for us. It's secure access to data. It requires OAuth 2.0 for authentication, and you can use it through a web app or Power Automate, services, integrations, whatever. So I'm sure some of you have seen this chart if you've kind of deep dived more into what SKY API is and how to authenticate and go through that whole process. And it's quite difficult when you look at this chart. I remember it took me a couple of weeks to wrap my head around the whole process and how it all works. But there's lots of great documentation, and you can go on the site and kind of just look through. So again, I'm going to talk about our unique problem and possible solution. Maybe this is something that you guys are just not running into, but if it's useful, then hopefully it helps. So SKY API requires OAuth login for each user. So I'm sure you've seen this screen in Power Automate. You hook up the Blackbaud connector and you sign in with your Blackbaud credentials, and now you can make authenticated calls to SKY API. So every call needs an access token, and those tokens are tied to the authenticated Blackbaud user that logs in to the connector. But what if the end user doesn't have a Blackbaud account, isn't part of your organization, or maybe is accessing through a Power App, a Flow, or an external web app? And that's kind of what we ran into. We had a Power BI dashboard that housed a Power App. It housed a Power App, and in that Power App, it ran some Power Automate flows. And when we gave access to that dashboard to other people, when they went to run the flows, it would ask them to sign in to Blackbaud, but guess what? They don't have Blackbaud accounts because they're external partners. And so we're like, okay, what do we do? So we decided we needed something that was reusable and that we could kind of log in before sharing the flow out to someone else. And so we just needed a token exchange process that fit non-dev users, apps, and Power Automate. And so if you see on the right, we have a manual HTTP call. In that second step, the HTTP post get access token, that is a separate flow, and that calls Blackbaud to get a token using a refresh token that we're storing in CRM. So that brings us back an access token, we parse it, and now we can make the same get list constituent phones, which is the same one over here, but we don't have to sign in because we have the access token through another flow, and then we can get a response back. So that's what we needed to do, and I'll kind of go through how we set all that up. So first we set up a SKY API app inside of SKY API. Obviously, you give it a name, and that gives you two things that you need. You have an application client ID, and you have a primary secret. So we're going to need those two things later. Then we built a table in CRM, and that table has about 4 columns, has an environment. This is just a unique name that we can reference later. Then we have that client ID. That client ID is from the previous step, and then our client secret primary, which is blurred out because it's secret. But one thing that we did is that we added an encrypt client secret button, because if you make an authorize an app, you can't send it through the front end. You won't get a refresh token if you're sending it through the front end. So we needed to encrypt it first. So we encrypt it. That'll give us an encrypted client secret primary key. And then we have this button on the top called refresh token. And when we click that, that opens a new tab from CRM into our BBIS environment. And we built this React app that is pretty much that same table. And you can see it has the same columns: environment, expiration is blank because it hasn't been authenticated yet. Then we have a refresh token button, and then we have a test button, which is not visible because we don't have anything in it. And that just pulls from that data list. It pulls whatever's in that table and it pulls it here. But the difference is we have a refresh token in this table, and when you click that, you get that same login that you get in Power Automate. So here you can authorize, you log in through Blackbaud, you authorize it, it authenticates. Again, this is a custom BBIS app. It authenticates, and if it's successful, you'll get this message on the bottom, and that'll push our refresh token back into CRM. So if we go back into CRM, you'll see a refresh token here. The client secret is now encrypted. And this refresh token is the key because the refresh token lasts for a whole year. So for 365 days, you can use that to get an access token. So you can keep using that to get an access token and keep making calls to CRM. But the problem is getting that refresh token. It's not easy to get that refresh token. And so that's that whole process of getting that refresh token. So now what we can do is that in that flow, get access token, which looks like this. And it's really long, but what's basically happening in here is that it makes a call to OAuth 2.sky.blackbaud.com/token, and it uses that refresh token in the body to get an access token, and it returns it back to our flow. So once we have an access token, we can make a call to list constituent phones. And then we get a response, and it's a secure response. Some of the challenges we face is just timing and validation. So that was just dealing with making sure it was encrypted, and just making sure that we were sending the right thing in the right environment. So then handling multiple environments, whether it's like your sandbox environment or prod environment, that you can in SKY API. Let me see in here. There's an environment, view environments, and just depending on what environment you have connected, when that pop-up comes up in BBIS, the environment will be listed here. You can see it says CRM 32910S. And so that'll confirm that that's that same environment you put in the table to authenticate. Power Automate throttling, that just, to make sure you're not going over your throttle rate for your API calls. And then just keeping credentials up to date. We have one of the fields in that table is last refreshed. And so that'll just kind of keep us accountable, making sure that refresh token, last refreshed was, like in this case, May 26th. So we know we have a year to use that refresh token. And we're setting up other Power Automate flows to check this table, I don't know, every 30 days to make sure that it's not going to expire soon or anything like that. So that's high level. Again, that's a really unique problem that we had, authenticating SKY API. Unless you're just doing this, which is really simple, it's a challenge, but we made it work. And yeah, if you have any questions, I would love to answer them.
Right. And as earlier, you blew through your content and you're an amazing speaker. You're just like, I'm going in.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you have 17 minutes left. You're so good. If you have any questions from the chat, we'd love to see them. Please drop them in that Q&A and we'll do some deeper diving if we have to. No questions, but great work. Thank you for that, Jennifer. I think you just didn't dive deep enough, man. That's what it is. They need more. They want more code. Oh, here we go. We got a couple coming in. All right. Let's see. Do you have a GitHub code repo that you created in React to follow this process?
GitHub code repo that you created. No, we do not. But think about creating that just for you, Oscar Lito.
All right. And from Dominique, we have, do you have a specific automation or project you're using this for now?
Yeah, well, one big example was that Power BI dashboard that hosts that Power App. We needed to share that immediately with external because it was a Power BI dashboard that was already being used. But it was using the old SKY API, which was just basic, username and password. So when we updated it to use OAuth, we couldn't just leave it broken. So that was the main reason we did that. But now we're doing it all over the place. We have a bunch of automations that are using this from external apps. A lot of our apps make calls to SKY API, not just within Power Automate. So yeah, we're using it kind of everywhere.
Okay, awesome. All right. Anything else from anybody out there? Come on, I know there's some developers out there. Give us the hard questions. I want to see Manny have to dig for something. Come on. All right. While we wait on that, I'm going to kick out the survey real fast before I forget. Drop that out here. Things. Check your little messagey area. There should be a survey popping up. This is great for both the session and for our presenter. There are prizes going out for both the most surveyed and I think for the best presenter as well. So please go in there and fill that out when you have a moment. Give it just another minute or two here so we can get the questions coming in. Nobody? All right. Well, folks, we'll hang out here backstage for a little bit. If you have any questions pop in, or anything else pops in the last minute, please do drop them in the chat or into the Q&A. And then if we happen to miss them, they'll get sent to the presenter afterwards as well, so we can follow up with you. Other than that, Manny, thank you once again for joining us today. This has been an amazing presentation, and thank you all out there for joining us. Appreciate the time, and Hope you've enjoyed BB Dev Days. Catch you guys on the next one. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you guys.